Hey guys, Ben Labadie, and I'm here with psychologist Dr. Henry Svec. Henry, how you doing tonight?
Great, Ben. How are you?
Just wonderful as usual. Hey guys, if you're coming in, I want you guys to know that if you comment or ask a question or participate in the conversation tonight, you have a chance to win pizza from Constantino's Pizza, and they have pizza and wings really, a large pizza and a pound of wings. I almost said large coffee because I'm drinking coffee, but if you guys want another chance to win it, and please hit that share button. We appreciate that. And we're going to have a little conversation tonight. We want you guys to be a part of it because it's fun, it's exciting, and let's get it started. What's new? A lot of new stuff today. I think they're opening daycares.
For COVID, yeah, I heard on the news as we were talking, a lot of new openings. Very optimistic. I think people have hope and people are getting out and doing things. I noticed more people out and about, which is great because I sent you a thing on social isolation. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but I looked more at social isolation and what that does mental health-wise and health-wise, and it's pretty incredible. So hopefully people are getting out, and pretty soon, you could communicate with more people. I think it's groups of 10 now you can be in. Is that true?
Yeah, they said you can go up to groups of 10. So, that's more people than five. Five's difficult. But yeah, you can go up to 10. And when you go to church, I think they can have 30% capacity, but still weddings and funerals are stuck to 10.
Like
still.
From a mental health perspective, I think the anxiety maybe we can talk about, because I think hopefully people are feeling better about what's happened, because we've noticed there's been, less risk, it seems, when we go out, because more people are doing it, which is great. Getting out of the house is important. And if you're having difficulty because of anxiety, do little steps. Don't suddenly think you're going to go out in the public all over the place. Just get out to your front door. Maybe we've had people walk to the road and back just to get outside if you haven't been out in months. But if you have been, they're telling us to keep doing it. I heard that happen, which is wonderful. Optimism. We have hope, Ben. Hope is great for mental health.
We have hope. And we got Sean McIntyre saying yes. I think he's excited that things are open, or maybe not. But I think that is an optimistic yes. Sean watches us every week, Henry.
Oh, thank you, Sean, for that. This could be our last week. If we don't have COVID, right, Ben? We're good with, we would be happy if everybody's happy and getting out and no longer. We're grateful to be able to, even if we help one person with some support, or they can ask us a question. But this was about this, and I'm so excited that things are. I'm a little sad that things closed prematurely. Like they, like you said, they shut down all kids' summer sports.
Yeah.
Now today in London, I heard you can have a day camp for kids, but you can't stay overnight, which is interesting. But we need hope. We need to know, and I think it's coming, and hopefully that will help our mood and our mental health, which is really exciting.
So before we get to more optimistic stuff here, I want to talk just about the social isolation that you were talking about.
Yeah, well, I looked at that because the British government actually has a minister of social isolation. They've had one for quite some time, because they looked at the impact on our mental health and also physical health of being socially isolated. And what we've had to do over the last 3 or 4 months has been social isolation. And if you have people that you're isolating with, it's difficult for other reasons perhaps, but you're not as isolated. But there are many of us out there who are isolated, who don't have a lot of contacts, and it can cause incredible mental health issues that we need to remember. So the first thing you want to do when you're able to get out, if you haven't had a chance, is connect with someone who hasn't had a chance to do that, and connect with people in your community. That's why even the churches, it's important for many reasons, but one is because that's community for many people, where they can go out and interact with other people to break that social isolation. It's a very it's kind of a fascinating but difficult thing to look at, as far as how harmful that can be when we're isolated from each other. That's why many of us are saying the work from home thing for mental health isn't probably going to be a long-term outcome in many situations, where people in the workplace need to be together. They need to connect. They need to talk. Yeah. It's very productive to do that. So that's sort of coming along in a different way, I think. Hi, Cheryl.
It's kind of crazy out there. It's the way things are changing and going back to slightly normal and opening up, and it's exciting. So let's move on here. Let's talk about optimism. Let's be optimistic for a minute and talk about all the good stuff. So, hey guys, if you're there, I want to know what you guys are most optimistic about. I know from my mother, she wants to get her nails done. She booked an appointment today. I think she's 2 weeks in the cycle.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna get a real haircut. I'm gonna actually do it. like this hair up top, I got a ton of gel in it, and it's just a mess. It's a mess. I don't know what to do with it. I've tried to do the sides myself. Amy has done repaired, so that my first haircut did not go so well, and she did some repairs on it.
That's probably good. That probably looks all right. Does that look all right? I don't have any taste for hair, but does that look good? I don't know. It looks fine. What do you need? What do you got to fix?
Well, it doesn't really look good to me, and I've got the lights slightly dimmed, so you can't see it really good. So, but I'm optimistic about that.
It's good. I'm optimistic to go out and support local business and get more people out and get exercising again. And hopefully soon it'll be gyms next, and they'll reconsider the summer parks and all that kind of stuff, and summer camps, I mean, so that we'll get back to as normal as we can.
Absolutely. Tamara Parker there. Hey, Ben, it's Cayman. Cayman is the son of Tamara, and I do training with Cayman. We've been killing it Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
What kind of training are you guys doing?
We're doing some just body weight exercises, some sprints. Cayman's about 12 years old. He's killing it and getting back. And a lot of these kids, my son, got out of shape, right?
Really, eh?
You take you take a month, or it wasn't continuous. So Cayman himself, he is a lacrosse player, and they took that away from him. For my son, they took soccer away, so they weren't doing all the activities that they were always doing. So to see these kids, and they're doing push-ups, they're doing burpees, they're doing sprints, and they're running. It's not always the most exciting thing for a kid, but they're happy. I mean, they're feeling good. You can see that they're feeling good. So hey, Cayman, how you doing, man? I'll see you tomorrow.
There's a couple of things I recommend now, and one of them is that exercise for mental health is every day. So we do it 7 days a week. So we have protocols for cardiovascular exercise because it's one of the best treatments for mental health issues like depression and mild anxiety. So if people have any kind of equipment or way, or maybe through their trainer, as you're doing, if you have any mental health issues, exercise is probably the key go-to initial strategy. But it's got to be 7 days a week. We've learned that to create a habit, it's easier to do it every day. If you do it 3 days a week, there's a break in between, and it's harder to keep doing it if you're doing it for mental health or other health reasons. So that's one. And the other thing I'm really excited about is we're looking at, I do concussion research. We're doing research on the impact of concussion on gut microbes. So there's a part of the science now that's coming out and saying it's not only if you get a concussion, it may impact your pituitary, thyroid, cardiac condition. Now they're saying there may be an impact on your gut microbes, which reverse that. Well, what I'm fascinated and we're really trying to help is a small group of people who don't recover from concussion. There's a group of us out there, a group of people who probably 98, 99% recover, but there's a small group who don't, and we have no idea why. And that's sort of the one last important thing we're trying to work on at this research we're doing outside of the clinic. I do it in another way, but the gut microbes. So we order, a quick story. So we order gut microbe testing. Okay, so we get these packages. It's via Europe. And we're all excited. I have a research subject that's excited. We open up the package and it's expired. The gut microbe testing has an expiry date like your milk does at the grocery store. So we have to send it back to Europe now and get all our gut. But I'm excited about that because it's a whole new science and it's a new way to look at how one injury can impact our entire body. So that's what I'm doing on the
Can you give me an explanation, gut microbe?
Well, gut microbes apparently are all, and I'm certainly not an expert at gut microbes, but I'm fascinated by the impact. There are certain gut microbes that appear to be deficient, and I'll give you one, C. difficile, which we know is a difficult infection people get that can really cause you harm. What they've discovered, and you might want to keep the kids away from my next explanation, but with gut microbes, what they do is actually a fecal transplant. And there was what they do is they take a healthy person's stuff and they process it and they give it to the person who's has C. difficile. It's one of the best. Within days, the infection is gone. They've also learned, however, casually that by doing that, there was a famous case in Los Angeles where a person had C. difficile. She got a fecal transplant and got healthy, but she sued the donor in the hospital because she gained weight because the person who donated it to her was obese. So there are many things they're learning about our bacteria in our intestines that are helpful and beneficial, and there's like a balance, right? And that balance is impacted when we get an injury, or a disease. It actually affects what's happening, and that actually reverses back up to us neurologically. Now the problem is, sorry, we're getting into all this stuff because that's not why people are on here tonight. But the problem with this is everybody who's like, when I talk to my experts on the brain, they don't really are into the pituitary gland or gut microbes, and the gut microbe people aren't really into the brain stuff so we're trying to get people to all talk about how their area can affect the other area, which is what is sort of my latest crazy research thing.
Yeah. I'm with Erie O Boy here with it is fascinating. Some of the stuff that we do get off topic with is pretty fascinating. And I think a lot of us enjoy it. It's kind of cool.
What keeps me up at night, and we just did an article on this, on the impact of alcohol on concussion, is that there's a small percentage of people that the brain, if you injure it, will start to recover. It's incredible how it starts to regenerate. Neuroregenesis, we know happens. There's a small group of humans, though, where it doesn't happen, and we don't know why. And
that's crazy.
It's tough for the people that have it.
Heather says hairdresser phones are blowing up, and I bet they are.
That's fantastic, Heather.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's probably, I wonder if it's scary. Heather, is it scary that you're going right back into this? I don't know what the guidelines are, but to go full speed ahead after being off work, I don't know how many people were really, really off work, but many of them are just totally off.
Do you feel like it's sports like we have, Ben? Do you feel like it's sports we have like momentum? Like we're just moving and there's no stopping this. Like if someone said, "Oh, wait a minute, we had a spike, you're all locked down again," I don't think too many people are going to be going, "Well, I don't know. Let's."
You know what? I was at the beach today, and I think it still might be illegal.
Okay, for the legal fund, call Ben now. Go ahead, Ben. Tell us.
We'll start a GoFundMe. So I was at the beach today, but I didn't see any tape. I parked, I drove by the beach a couple times before, and they had the yellow caution tape up. This time they didn't. I didn't notice any signs. I didn't look for them, but I didn't notice any. But there was hundreds of people out there in Erie on the beach, and everybody was going on as normal. I think when you talk about momentum, and I do feel there's a momentum, and I do feel that people are they're just doing their thing and going with it. And I think everything else is going to catch up to how the people are doing things. So people are doing things, and then they open the beach.
Benjamin has a great question. Can we answer that one? I just happened to glance
Let's get to it. Ben Lorenomix, I have always struggled with getting easily overwhelmed about the most mundane stresses of life, especially college. So in many ways, I find this lockdown and forced slowdown to be less stressful than college. Is this normal?
Absolutely, Ben, because what's happened is by being locked down, all the variables have been controlled, right? No one can come over. You can't go anywhere. No, it just really pushes down the chances of stress happening, things you have to do. Now it's fairly basic. We had to stay home. We had to self-isolate. Maybe you went online, took classes. It was more predictable in that way, and you had more of and I found that myself too. I found it was very relaxing in some ways that you didn't have all these other distractions, right? There were no distractions. You couldn't go anywhere. There were no choices. And so on the other hand, in some ways it is less stressful, but on the other hand, it can be more. It depends really on your outlook and where you're at and who's with you can have a big impact on it.
Mm-hmm. So that's a normal thing, eh?
I think in most cases, I mean, it's always based on degree, but to feel more secure and less stressed, I think if you're in a situation where you're not have people around you that could be, I mean, people with young children, I don't know, maybe they can chime in how the stress level was being together for so long. But now it's kind of like, whoa, school's out for the summer. Mm-hmm. That's a song, I think.
Well, I know a few people that have the stress of what do you do with the kids? They're running out of ideas, and they feel maybe that they're not doing enough when you're pretty limited in what you can do, right?
Well, we should have summer camps for all the kids. There should be so many options. There should be science camps and music camps, and even if they're day camps, parents need a break. Like we could figure this out pretty quickly. And for your mental health parents, remember, one of the things is when you can hand off your children, it's the high five, you hand them off and you do something for yourself for a while. Don't feel guilty about that, about needing to get away from your kids when you can get some help.
Awesome. Harvey, need to open the borders. I'm with Harvey 100%, but I understand there's many people that would be against that because of,
Why do you think, Ben? Why would they be against that?
Okay, so the reason I'm for it is because, again, I have less fear of everything. And now with all the information coming out, I have even less fear than I did before, which was minimal.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. I like crossing the border. I feel I can travel safely. I think I can do all the things. But keep in mind, I wash my hands a lot. I do, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I do. So I'm already ready for that, and I'm excited for that, and I look forward to that. But on the other hand, I can see where people can be fearful because all you hear, if you watch, I haven't watched the news for like 4 days. Okay.
Good for
And
you.
I can tell you things are more optimistic, right? I feel better, I've read things, the information, but not through media. I've seen it offered through our government and what they've said
Yeah,
that we can do and what's
sure.
opening, but I haven't really watched protests and fighting and who's responsible and how many deaths and numbers. Um, so I believe myself, if you watch the media long enough, I mean, you might be locked down. You'll lock yourself in, to a cage for the rest of your life or for a period of time. And with Michigan and New York and these other states that are close by, bordering Ontario, they do have large amounts of COVID cases.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, they do a ton of testing,
Yeah, I know.
right? They do a ton
Yeah.
of testing. So they find that many people already had it, right?
Well, the reason I think
Um,
things are shifting is because last night I watched the London news last night. The lead story wasn't demonstrations or COVID. COVID wasn't. The lead story was a bear up in a tree in a part of London, and how they were going to get the bear down. That was the lead story on the London news last night. It wasn't COVID. It wasn't shutting down sports across the country because of COVID. It wasn't any. It was a bear up a tree, and that kind of tells me
yeah.
maybe things are shifting as far as our mental outlook of this and the danger of it. And that I find that to be helpful. It's not we were in fear. People said if you leave your house, you're going to die. If you cough,
Yes.
if you ever shake someone's hand again, you should go to prison and those kinds of things. Now all of a sudden people are saying, well, it's go ahead. The
Yeah.
premier said, go up north. If you live in Toronto, go up north, travel. So it's changing, I think. And I think for our mental
Yeah.
health, that's a good thing.
Yeah. And I look at David Edwards here, Harvey, who made the comment. Do you understand the COVID numbers in Michigan? Thousands this week alone. So when people see those numbers, is it send a message, a signal that this is scary?
Well,
This is something I should fear?
I think when we don't know when we feel we're under threat, we sort of retreat to safety, right? So it makes sense to not open the border, to not go to Michigan. It makes sense to stay shut down. But at what cost? We've talked about this at the very beginning when we started talking like this. So I think everybody has to make their own decision. And I think certainly if it's open, it doesn't mean people are going to blindly follow. If you don't want to go to Michigan, you wouldn't go. But if you, Ben, want to go and you're young and healthy, see, I think someone like me, I'm 63, I am healthy apparently, but you may not want to go. But if you're your age, you're young, if you want to go, that's your choice. I believe in more choice and I have more trust in people. If you don't
Yeah.
want to leave your house, do not leave your house. Have groceries delivered if you're in a high risk group or you're anxious, and don't go. But don't stop other people from maybe doing that.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
Let's go with Sarah Sims. I hope so too. I've been working through all this COVID since day one, but for me, it's hard that I am a cashier. And when we do curbside, and if we get your order wrong, it's not the nicest trust we make. We make a mistake, and then you get hit with a broom. This is my experience in being a true person working for people that need their essential needs.
Yeah.
Um, so, that it
Thanks for
looks to me that
sharing
she's
that.
a cashier, and when they do make a mistake, or when people make a mistake, um, and again, this is all new. Curbside pickups, all new,
How does
right?
that
For
work? I've
many
never
people,
had it. I've just gone in if you can and bought stuff.
you order it online
Yeah.
or you order it by phone. They put you in I don't know where Sarah works, but for like Best Buy or something, you pull up to a number, or
Oh, I see.
um, where was it? Yex, even Station 11 in Ridgetown. It's a restaurant. You call, they tell you to park in number 1, 2, or 3. You get there, you park, and they bring out your order. And curbside pickup, like Canadian Tire, and that, it's all same thing. They pick up your order, and Walmart does the same thing. You park and they pick it up. So I guess if you get it wrong, people can be not so nice.
Do you still do that, or has that been taken away now that you can go into Canadian Tire? Do they still have
You
it?
can go into Canadian Tire, but I do believe I think they'll have curbside pickup for a long time.
Well, that's good because some people are anxious about it and they shouldn't, if you need stuff, you should be able to get it without. Do you think behavioral change, because we talk a lot as a professional, we talk about behavioral change. Do you think there's some behaviors now, Ben, that are changed forever, or was it just temporary? Like, do you think I think working from home is not the thing that as big as a lot of people think it is. I think a lot of people want to get back to the office. They want to get back with their colleagues. But is there any behavior change that you think, if other people think are with us for the long term?
Well, the good thing I think is the main behavior change I see is staying cleaner, washing your hands more, and respecting other space. When you look at a lot of things that create a rift in a workplace, it's sometimes personal space being violated.
Yeah.
Right. And I think more than ever, you're going to be well aware to not invade anybody else's personal space, because space is just given now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's definitely good in the workplace, most likely, because it solves some natural problems that occur. But I believe courtesy, understanding of another, we're a little bit more patient. I do believe we're more patient, in moving forward, as you stand in more lines longer. You've
Do you
had
think
to be
we'll ever
patient.
go to work? You think we'll ever leave the house with a cold anymore?
I think if you leave the house with a cold, you are going to feel a little bit different. I know if I left the house, for me, I'll use myself as an example of a bad example. How about this? I went to the gym. I wasn't feeling so well, but I like to work through things, right?
That's
So
right.
I wasn't coughing or anything, but I wasn't feeling well. And this was in early February. Now, people say, I'm going to go with the doctors on this. Oh, you couldn't have had COVID or anything, so we'll go with that. And you had the flu. But I wasn't feeling well, and I still went out in public. I don't think I'll do that next time. All
Yeah, I
right.
don't think
So,
I've always gone to work with a cold, which is bad. I feel guilty now. I wonder. I mean, I
yeah.
always take all the stuff, so the symptoms go away, and then you go do your job and work. And hardly ever took a sick day in my life, but I think I probably made a mistake. I feel bad because you feel like you're kind of letting down the team, or you're letting down the people that, in my case, I'm seeing that day. But I'm not sure what we should do. Maybe I could just do telepsych, or, if you have your ability to work from home, you could probably do it then. But I wonder if that behavior's changed forever. Because I mean, if you start coughing in a grocery store, I don't know. I don't know what that would be like.
If I'm coughing or if I sneeze, and sometimes you just sneeze and cough. I look at the sun. If I look at the sun, I can
Yeah.
blast out a sneeze pretty easily. But I think staying that the sick day and being sick is totally different than it was a little while ago.
Unless the vaccine,
You know,
unless there's a real vaccine by December or whatever they say, and then. But are there any other
yeah.
behaviors, Ben? You think staying home more, people will be spending more time there?
I've talked to a few people, and I think going out might happen less, and more people coming over and enjoying the backyard or playing cards at the table and board games. I think people will do more stuff inside their home. And you've talked about it on the Business Entrepreneur Show about people building oasis in their
Hmm.
backyard, and
Right.
I've already read a few people saying that travel often. So I know people that travel often, and they said, well, if I have to abide by all these rules and I have to wear a mask at a resort, you know what? I'm going to invest that money into a hot tub. I'm going to invest that money into a pool. I'm going to invest that money into a nice backyard that I can enjoy all the time.
Yeah,
Right? I'm
with
going
the
to bring
beautiful
that to the table.
landscape and the wildflower, whatever you're going to do, I think you're going to
Yeah.
see more of that. And I think for us, the thing that I think is good is the time people have had with their children. Because I've always talked about unconditional love, 30 minutes a week.
Yeah.
If you can spend 30 minutes a week with your child in an unconditional love exercise, your child will never forget it. Well, I'm hoping that when this is through, people will still say, look, we can still go out, but I'm going to play a board game with my son, or we're going to build something out of wood or something. Just continue with that kind of connection with your children. I'm hoping that continues.
I think a lot of this is, parents have bonding more with their kids and their families, all their family. I think that's happened a lot. And I know I've spent more time with my kids, and, with them not being at school, right? Being a realtor, you get to spend more time with kids, and I think that's great. Heather says, it's a bit scary, but I work alone. I am not so worried as much as others might be. She's a hairdresser, I believe,
Okay.
and it's one client at a time. I understand, but we did what our government wanted us to do. We bent the curve. Now it's time to educate people, let them go, and pretty much make their own decisions. I'm guessing Harvey is talking about there.
Yeah, I think it's time to move forward rather than, back it and quarterback it and say, oh, if let's just move forward. Like, people did the best they could, what they knew at the time. Let's assume it was well motivated, and let's just move on with what we have to do to get on with their lives. And I'm interested in how the children are doing, because I've wondered about the stress levels for children, how they feel now because they're not going back to school and they have 2 months ahead. I just wonder how it's going with them and how you're going to fill the summer.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm putting together a soccer camp for my kid.
Can you tell us a bit about that? What's going on there?
Well, I just got my check back from the refund from signing him up soccer. Now my son likes to play travel soccer. He's a good soccer player, and his friends are good, and his team is good. But they've canceled soccer. Now it's my opinion that this is him being 12 years old, turning 13. It's probably a crucial year for him to play.
Yeah.
So if I put my faith in waiting and all these other things to happen, I don't think it's going to happen. So I think it's best that I just put it together myself. If you do it, people will come, I believe. If I can put together a team, I'm sure somebody else somewhere is doing the same thing. And we'll be able to find that other team to play against at one point. And I believe it's safe. The only thing I would do at the start to make people maybe feel more comfortable, and the only people bringing their kids out are comfortable people, is wear arm guards. Because, when you're playing soccer, you might contact each other. So you can get arm sleeves or whatever, or you can wear a long sleeve. Nobody wants to do that, but you can wear, arm sleeves. And I think that would limit the rubbing up against each other, because they will make contact. And it is soccer. It's hard to, I believe you are naturally kind of distancing. You're not in anybody's face for a period of time. You're not enclosed. So you're playing and you're running. I think it's a good thing. I think it'll be good. So it's just a matter of, and the response has been good. I put out one post talking about it, and the messages I get, I'll have 20 kids out there.
I wonder about things like baseball. There's not a lot of contact in baseball, is there? I mean, you're not exactly,
Baseball, I think, would be the easiest, because you're really distance.
There's quite a distance.
I don't even think the closest thing is the umpire behind the catcher. I don't know. Let's see here. My opinion, I think they are opening daycare and summer camps to see what will happen before school starts. Becky Mix, that's a good point. That's a possibility.
I think one thing you're doing, Ben, with the soccer is you're taking control of the situation, which is great for mental health. It's an example of when we feel we can't do anything, we get frustrated, we get anxious, we sometimes can get depressed. But when you take control of a situation, as you're doing with soccer, and as other people are doing with other situations, I think now there's hope and there's positive affect. So part of it is the action you're taking and thinking forward. I really don't want to go back. I think we need to go forward with this and just keep thinking, what can we do next to move forward and feel better and take care of each other. I think buying local will never change. You know what, Ben? I think one behavior change hopefully is we will buy local before anything else, whether that be, you could say, okay, I could buy clothes cheaper at Walmart, but I'm going to buy clothes at my local shop because I want to support my local people. I'm hoping we start thinking about that. We can.
I think it is a lot of supporting our small business, our local business. I think you're going to see a lot more of that as we open up and as we allow those local small businesses to open up. I think there's going to be tremendous support, and I think more than anything, we've learned that we can't depend on other countries, other areas, other regions. We have to depend on ourselves and be able to defend and protect ourselves. And if it's defending a virus, we have to now know that we have to have things on hand.
And I think that's for services too. I think of insurance. They've tried to make property insurance. You can just go online, I guess, and get quotes and all that. Every community has an insurance office. We have one here in Blenheim. We have a few, and I'm sure you have many in Chatham. And if you can go to your local insurance person, the services that they provide in other areas as well, do it local if you can, because I think that's really important to promote local realtors like yourself. It's just helpful to keep everything going within our communities.
Okay, Crystal. And Crystal was on last night. I gave in, went to Walmart today. Most stressful experience. People do not follow the arrows or respect social distancing. Then say seriously, gloves and a mask. I'm staying home for the foreseeable future. Just can't handle it.
Yeah, I think Crystal brings up a really good point, because those initial days were kind of scary. Like I don't know about you, but I didn't really believe it was happening. Are they really talking about? I kept thinking about Walking Dead or something. Like it was kind of like, don't go out. If you go out, this will happen. And people were. I remember going to buy pork and beans and tuna, like a few extra cans. I didn't want to hoard or anything, so I bought a few and water. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? And then so you got this scare, and then you see every day on TV they come out and say, "Do not go out, do not." And so Crystal brings up a very good point. Our body was saying survive, and it's what we see with trauma, where people are experiencing. I'm not trying to get into this as being as serious as people who've experienced other traumas, but this can be difficult for us because our life was supposedly threatened, and all of a sudden we're on high alert, right? So we get anxious, and being out. First time I went to the grocery store, I was very nervous. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I thought, geez, what if, something happens and someone coughs on me and I get COVID? So there was, Crystal, a lot of that is, I think, with anxiety. Some of it's normal, right? So because this is what we've experienced and what we were told. So it's going to take a while. So if you can, maybe go to I don't go to Walmart because I get nervous before COVID. But if you can pick maybe going out to, I do, Ben, I'm sorry, the parking lot. This is like the fair, the bumper cars. I think I should be in a bumper car in the parking lot at Walmart because I'm going to get whacked. But I think it might be helpful, Crystal, to pick other, places to go to feel more comfortable, where you maybe know the store's small, and maybe pick a time when it's not so busy, which many of us did during COVID when we had to go grocery shopping. So still work with that, because that's important.
All right. Erio boy, here's an interesting one. Curious if there's any science of less road rage.
I haven't read any studies. There's people with observations. I just personally felt people were booting it pretty good when they got in their cars. This was about a week ago. I was in Chatham. It was interesting, but I was just having one of those days. What do they think? What do people think?
You know what? I do think there might be a little bit less road rage. Well, there's less cars at the moment, so possibly less road rage. I really don't know. It's good to see these other ways of thinking and questions that you ask. Like, is there any science to less road rage? That's an interesting question that might come of this. There's a lot of things that people changed that come of it. Will people get their haircuts as often, or have they learned to maybe they don't need a haircut as often?
No, we do, Ben. We all need hair, even if we have a little left like me. We do need a lot of haircuts. It taught us that we really miss no, I don't know. I have a feeling we're gonna slip right back to the way it was as soon as we get the all clear. I don't know.
And I remember talking in our first couple conversations where I was to the point, I was thinking that it would be a long, long, long time till things ever went back to normal, if they did. And my opinion and what I've been seeing, I was so off. People will appear to be going back to normal as soon as they get the chance to go back to normal. They're going back to normal. So I think I was a little, off in my thinking, but keep in mind, we're going back, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, it was a different world, right?
I had a friendly wager it would be over in June. And I didn't say what date in June. My kids are holding me to it, but I said June. They said, "Did you say June 1st?" I said, "No, I can't remember the date." So I think by the end of June, the way it's going, because when I heard Alberta accelerated, and then I think the Ontario daycare, was that not a new announcement today that they're opening all of them regardless so that people can go back to work?
Well, yeah, because if you're letting people go back to work, you're gonna have to do all those other things that people working need to have in their lives.
Why did this all of a sudden happen in a day, though, Ben? Why all of a sudden did we have to get ready for people to go back to work if there isn't some news we haven't heard about that's positive?
Yeah.
And then I heard the Minister of Education today when he announced on the tape, I watched it, he said that, and they have to make sure they have toys that kids won't be able to contaminate each other with. And I'm thinking, it's a daycare. Yeah. What toy could that be? I mean, they're 2 or 3 year olds. Everything's like this, right? And they share and they, I don't know. I think there's something going on as far as it's not the serious problem, perhaps, that we've been told for the general population, unless you're in a risk group.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
Larry came out walking with us the other day. Be safe, get out and walk. Walking's good. I like walking. If
everybody can think about every day for your mental health, every day do some exercise. I know I'm a broken record, and we all hate it. By the way, Ben, see, you're a guy who loves exercise, don't you? You're like one of those spandex guys running, smiling, when you're 6 mile. Guys like me are hurting after 100 yards. So most of the people of the population don't like to exercise. Let's be honest. We hate it. And this is something we've told our population, oh, it's fun and pick something you like to do. Yeah. And for some people, 10% or 15%, that's great. But for 85% of us, we hate it, but we know we need to do it. So the key thing is, how do we get ourselves to do it with the least amount of pain, but make it a habit? And when you can make it a habit for your mental health, and then your children will watch you and they will start to exercise, which I'm sure is why your son is so, and children are so happy.
I think for me, I'm not the biggest fan of running, and I've been telling you how I've been running every day.
What do you mean?
Racked up, I think, 400. But I'm not a big fan of running, but I am a big fan of having a goal and a target and things. Yeah. And that's one, because I tried to go out just running, and that doesn't do it, and I end up just not running. If it's at the gym on a treadmill, I like the numbers on the treadmill. Yeah. They work for me to accomplish things. When I do exercise in a walking group, I have other people, and it's not the exercise that gets me out. It's the people in the conversation that is the draw for me to do that. And the bonus of that is I got exercise walking, right?
Have you been still loafing, though, among all your work? And have you loafed still, taking time to loaf?
Heather, you wouldn't believe the loafing that went on today.
You're just looking at the ocean, or the lake.
I sat in the chair and did nothing. Good. I dropped my phone to the side. I've been doing not a crazy amount of loafing, but I find myself just sitting there a lot and taking a moment, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes of doing absolutely nothing. And,
good for you.
That could be just sitting in a chair and just turning the TV off. That it's very, I think I've learned a lot about loafing, and I've learned that loafing's good.
Yeah, it's still hard for us to do, right? Because your brain's going, you're active, and you got to put yourself in a situation where loafing is the only alternative, maybe, which helps.
Yeah. Well, and before, whenever I feel I'm doing absolutely nothing, I think I'm missing something or not doing something I should be trying to do, and I kind of feel, am I getting behind on something? And it's usually never the case. So taking that learning, I think that the secret for me, I guess, is learning to take that moment.
Yeah, and it's also regenerating your brain. We know that when you're in that sort of state of calm, and some people have different terms for it, deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, and all that here and now stuff, which is amazing. Everything changes, your body, your heart rate, and your brain sort of cleans itself out. And then when you do go back to work, you're that much more productive. So actually, by loafing, you're helping yourself be more productive. That's how I see it. So if you take a couple hours and you do something like go to the beach or go fly fishing or something, you're giving yourself a chance to rejuvenate. And particularly if you work with your neck up, if you're a teacher or professor or what you do in real estate, say what I do, when you take that time away, it's better when you go back to work. So you need to do that on a regular basis. That's something we should keep doing, because I think with this lockdown, we've been sort of forced to kind of do that. There's only so much Netflix to watch or whatever. So you need more time to do this, and hopefully that will continue. That's one habit I hope people continue to do.
All right, Cheryl Ann, do you think that shaking hands will be a thing of the past?
That's a hard one.
I don't think so. I think, I've been out showing houses still, and some of the clients, I find the older clients, 45 plus, they come in and they still shake a hand. Right. And I shake the hand. If they're younger, I'll do it.
Ben, there's a human connection necessary for humans to connect. there's something about that handshake, right?
Yeah.
And when, the connection with the human, there's something. So if you take that away and you pat someone on the back, it's not quite the same. Most people have rules. You don't hug anybody, right? That's a rule. You don't hug usually unless it's a close friend or your spouse or something. So you're handshaking. I don't think we get rid of it because I think it's more as long as, I mean, we may have a ritual where before we handshake, we go, whoa, we do the hand wash and then we shake. I don't know. But I think we need to do some connection with people because that's what humans need. They need connections. And handshaking isn't just like the American medical guy said, you'll never handshake again, I think he said, or you handshake, you'll kill. I don't know what he said. But I think it's going to come back. And I think, Cheryl, we need to do it. I just think we do.
Yeah, I'm for the handshakes, and when people approach me with a handshake, I shake the hand. When I approach people and it's me up doing the approach, I try to take control of it, and I'll say, "What are you comfortable doing? Do you want to do the fist bump? I know we're supposed," and then I'll lead the way. I'll say, "I know we're supposed to do this. So do you want to do the fist bump? Do you want to shake hands?" And I'll put the fist bump out there right away so that they feel comfortable not shaking the hand. If they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they say shake hand, okay, but the fist bump, or stay away. So I'm always in the distance, distance. So they have a couple options there, and I'll say, almost state the rules. I know, and put that out there, so that they feel comfortable. Because you'll have somebody that is totally not comfortable. You get anywhere near them.
You should ask permission. I don't even think you reach it out. I think you say, do you want a handshake or how can we connect? You want to ask permission. And I think the other thing that I've learned, which I hopefully behavior, is how to properly wash your hands. I remember at the beginning, I think CBC showed us how to properly wash your hands. And I thought, this is dumb. And then I watched it and I realized I wasn't washing my hands properly and how to use hand sanitizer properly, where you have to rub it around and go, they had this whole, I think the kids had a song in school and that kind of thing. So I think that's not going to change. That behavioral change now is part of what we know about how to wash our hands and how to use hand sanitizer. I think hand sanitizer is with us forever. For sure.
And the one thing I learned about washing hands is the part in your palm.
Yeah.
You got to do that.
Because of the crease, right? It collects stuff.
Yeah. And I never did that before. I did this, stuff like that. But I never did that. You got to do that here.
And the good news is washing, because I've been to so many of the, the rest stop washrooms, and men don't wash their hands, period.
You know what? It's scary.
Hopefully that will change.
All right. Terry Jenkins. Horses are healers, especially now for mental health. I believe that.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's exciting.
I wonder how that's going. Can they operate? I know of that program, and it's outstanding connection children make with.
So Terry Jenkins, at TJ Stables there, and it has a bunch of horses, and it has great programs. So I don't know if they're operating. Terry, if you could chime in and let us know. My mom, hi Ma, Margot Labadie, that's my mom.
Hi there, Ben's mom.
Let's see here. Horses are healers, especially for mental health. TJ Stables is offering week-long children's program outdoors on the farm COVID protocol.
That's outstanding.
So they must be.
That would be so great for all children. I don't know if they have room for all children or is it separate for different groups, but that's outstanding. Yeah, I love that.
I imagine the COVID protocol would have something to do with limited numbers or what they can and cannot do. But that's awesome that somebody's offering a children's program. And I'd like to get out there and check it out and do a live showing what they do. That'd be neat.
You know what? My first job was working as a teacher with street children. And they were teenagers who all got suspended from school. And every spring, I talked them into letting us use Craig. I think it was Craig. There's a place outside of London, and we went horseback riding once a week for 6 weeks. My students were unbelievable. These were students who had, punched principals, got suspended, were supposedly very difficult to deal with. We got around the animals, the horses, and they took instructions. They did what the instructor said. They loved the animals. We did not have one behavior problem ever on a trip to the ranch to ride horses. And these were children who had severe behavior problems.
Is there something that could be with different animals? I know a horse is larger than any dog or cat. Is there
Maybe
something that
Terry can.
possibly can
I
connect
don't
it?
know. There's something about horses. I know. I told you I've been around. When I'm around them, I feel so calm. It's ridiculous. And now I do that with bees, and I told you it's good because bees are cheaper. But horses give you some feeling. You get a. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Do you get that, Ben, when you're around horses?
I rode a horse in Tennessee once, and I got to say, it was probably one of the more relaxing feelings. And I think the most relaxing feeling about it is that I was on the side of like a little mountain,
Yep.
like not a big mountain, but I was on a side where I looked down from on top of a horse, and I was scared. And the instructor said, "You don't worry. That
Yep.
horse doesn't want to go over. You just trust the horse." And so I did, and I was scared at the start, but you know, it was a very calming thing that I trusted that horse so much that I'm not going to fall off this cliff because it wouldn't have been good. I don't think there was any survival
Well,
if I fell off
when
that
I had
specific
horses,
cliff.
they lived in Wheatley, and I used to drive to Wheatley, and I would just hug them. I go. I know their names. I had three of them. I go hug them, and then they'd come over. A couple of them were kind of ornery. They didn't want to be hugged, but one would come over, and you give them a hug, and it was almost like you're in a. I it's not. It's like when we talk about loafing, and you get in that calm, and your heart rate drops, and your breathing changes, and the horse relaxes. There's something that happens, and there's a mental health connection there that I think, and that's why we have in different areas we have service dogs for PTSD and all of that kind of thing. Animals are really helpful for us, you know.
Awesome. Craig Waters says, "Is Ben giving out pizza?" Is Ben giving out pizza? Let me tell you.
That's given up
You know,
pizza.
tell you what, Craig. There it is, right there. Constantino's pizza, pizza and wings. I'm giving away a large pizza and a pound of wings. Comment in the comment section. Participate in the conversation to possibly win a large pizza and a pound of wings. So, absolutely, yes, we are giving away some pizza to Constantino's, and it's always delicious, tasty
So,
pizza.
someone asked a question there, Ben, about graduating from school. If we can open churches and stuff, why can't kids graduate from school? What is the reasoning on that? Is it just because we're too closed? Yeah, there it is.
Okay,
Right
listen here.
there.
If churches can open to 30% capacity, then why can't we have graduation? My daughter is graduating grade 12, makes me sad. I have no clue. I believe you should be able to do that. I think it's one of those things that there's so many variables and so many things going on that they're just missing things to check off. If I were the graduation people, I would just do it.
I think
And
they're in
you
trouble. I
know,
don't think they have that same because it's a school board. Did you go to your graduation, Ben, in high school?
I can't even believe I made it. Yeah, I remember going to my graduation, and my parents didn't know it, but the valedictorian said, "And everybody's welcome back to Ben Laverty's house for a party after." And I looked at my parents who were there, and my dad handled it like an all-star. Looked at my mom and said, "We better go get ready."
Good for them. I missed mine.
And,
Yeah, I didn't go to
yeah,
mine. I had to go to a make-up math exam at Western because I missed it because of football, and I missed my high school graduation. But I didn't really. I mean, it bothered you a little bit, but I got over it pretty quick.
uh, Henry, I think you're going to kill me here on the spandex thing. Don't come to Erio and spandex, Ben. I have a camera. I'm not afraid to use it.
Sorry, it's
Sue Clark, LOL spandex. Ben can't wait for tomorrow's walk where we'll be
sorry, Ben.
talking about
You
this.
shouldn't post it. I meant by that it's a term I meant for people who love to exercise. They just smile. They love it. It's great. It's wonderful. And that's
I'm
not
not wearing
most of us
spandex.
humans aren't like that. And they're in shape. They don't even need to exercise. That's not
Oh,
and I
people are
think
thinking I'm out there running spandex. Maybe I
well, Ben,
should.
maybe we started a trend. Ben, and maybe it's a the thing is though, I think expectations are important for exercise. And so people need to realize that if you know you need to exercise for mental health or other reasons and you don't like it, you're probably more normal than people like Ben and spandex. No, than people who are, you see the commercials and people are loving it. You think, well, I should be like that. And if I'm not like that, maybe I should. That's not true. Very few of us are like that. I mean, when I always go back to prehistoric days, we've talked about this. Our job was to collect stuff and catch protein, and then we didn't exercise. So it wasn't normal for us to say to the group, hey, we've got a lot of food here, but let's go for a run anyway. We would never do that because there's no reason to run unless you're chasing food or trying to look for stuff. So I think most of us are, this is my excuse anyway, most of us are sort of genetically programmed to not want to exercise unless we have to. Ben.
Henry, do you wear spandex when you go out?
God help. I won't even go out in public. I do it hidden in my basement with the windows drawn, the shades drawn. I don't want to see the exercise. God.
Sean McIntyre, loafing has been known to turn people into loaves of bread.
Well, we never explained loafing, John. Maybe did we explain it well? I don't think I explained it too well.
I don't think we explained the term loafing. We went around on what we did loafing, which is doing nothing for some people. But could you just give a definition of loafing?
So, Sean, one of the things we talked about this about a few years ago, I came across this for mental health, where you go out and you sit and you don't do it purposely. So my example was sitting in a forest or a bush, and you have no purpose. You're not hunting. I'm not fishing. Just sitting there and doing nothing for 30 minutes. What happens? And no phones, no anything. And we kind of coined the term loafing. And what happened to us, and I do it occasionally, is all of a sudden you start hearing more things. At first you wonder why you're doing it. And this is dumb and there's no purpose. At least that's how I felt. But after a few minutes, you start to hear the sounds differently. The smells are different. The wind, the breeze, you notice a tree, and basically the 30 minutes go by and you've recharged your entire body. So that's kind of what we came up with loafing. It's sort of being in a place without purpose. And you can probably do it in a city, on a park bench. You can do it anywhere. You can do it perhaps in your house too, but you'd want to look over something that you find relaxing. And you just sort of let your brain rejuvenate. And that's the term we came up with loafing.
Awesome. Let's see here. Amanda, they can open daycares and summer camps, but kids can't play sports. This makes no sense. It's not like you can keep kids away from each other at daycares. So what's the difference from kids playing together and kids playing baseball? And I think I'm going to jump on this, is that people canceled very early all these sports and all these events and all these future things, even in September, that things are canceled in school sports. It's going to take people to, like I said, back to the soccer thing, it's going to take people to just kind of step up and start them to get that train moving to get back to kids sports, because I think they just canceled it all and it's hard to get back, hard to get organized again once you do that.
I'm not sure people who cancel realize that for some children, sports are everything. I can remember coming out of high school, being a freshman, and Mary and I were talking about, say, if I was a freshman going to Western and they canceled football, my whole life would have changed. Everything would have changed. And many children are like this. They go to school because they have to get grades to play sports. Maybe their parents told them, or when you get to university, if you don't get the right grades, you can't keep playing sports because they have rules about that. So all of these sports are important. So by canceling sports for children in the summer, by canceling sports next year at colleges and universities, many children are going to be affected, and teenagers and young adults for the rest of their lives. I don't think people quite understand that. And the importance of sports for children during the summer to build, social skills and all those things that we value. I don't think they get it. I think it's a very sort of antiseptic kind of thing.
We talked about habits and routines and things that people might be getting into. And I had a conversation the other day talking about what I believe, if kids are held back from sports that they love, and I kind of talked about it in a way that when baseball went on strike, a lot of people found another sport to watch and became fans of it.
Yeah.
And I think if kids get away from soccer and baseball and hockey, they start finding other things that are available and they start enjoying that activity and may not have the same interest as they did before in the sport that they so much enjoyed and played every day. Is that a possibility that people can find something else that they start to enjoy so much that they fade out of the last sport they like a relationship?
Well, it's kind of an opportunity issue for me. So if you're a fifth-year player at a college or high school and they don't have sports, you lose that opportunity. But I think we're already losing children to sports, right? There aren't as many children playing baseball as there used to be, and all those kinds of things. And you don't want to, my bias is you don't want, because of mental health for children is so important. to be fostered by physical exercise. And it's the only way now, because children don't walk to school, right? There's no farming going on in most cases. There's a small percentage, but not as many. So how do children get exercise today? What do they do? And I think for children, and the beauty, many of the sports that have been canceled, and that's one of the reasons I like football, regardless of your size, your shape, your athletic ability, there's a position you can play in football. Unlike soccer, where you got to run forever and you got to be talented. I was not a very talented athlete, but there's a place for you in football. There's if you're a little heavier or husky, as they used to say when I was growing up, you can play a certain position. You can't do that in a lot of sports. And so for that basic level kid who wants to play as I was, I remember playing Little League in grade 6. And that was really important to play football in grade 6. Children play all kinds of sports. I don't think people really understand that for a group of children, this is a really important. I'm not saying everybody's going to go in the NHL or anything. I'm just saying for their summer, for their fall, it's so important. And I wish we had taken a lot of time to say, okay, we tried all the ways to play this sport safely. The parents agree we can't, so we're not going to do it this year. That would make sense. But just to arbitrarily, I heard the Western coach the other day. He said, "You canceled my tennis season." I didn't even know we had a tennis team at Western. You canceled my tennis season, but it was okay for 10,000 people to hold hands in London, and that's an important protest. He's not saying about the protest. He's just saying, how can that be okay social-wise, distancing, but we can't have a tennis or a golf season? He makes a great point. I don't know why.
Yeah. Again, it sounds like another talk show. Ben in spandex. I mean,
no, it's not. I'm not.
What did you do to me?
I'm not showing up for that one. This is my last show. I have to look at Ben in spandex. God help. Well, actually, you could do it because no one would notice. We're just. Oh, I got to ask you, Ben. Do you have shorts on, or what are you wearing? Can we ask that?
I have shorts on. Yes, I have shorts on.
I do too. I've got the hunting garb on. I got my what do you call these guys?
You got camo.
I'm cheating. Yeah, I got camo.
Yeah.
Like this.
I should stand up and show everybody my spandex.
Well, Ben, no, please.
Let's see here. We will see if these daycares only have 10 kids at a time. If so, maybe an opportunity to start a daycare more will be needed to accommodate. I like Becky looking at these as opportunities here.
Becky, did they say more? 10 kids in a daycare or 10 kids in a room? I heard room mentioned with the province.
I do not know.
But daycares, as I understand it, and to keep children safe and to provide them with nurturing and all that, daycares will always be needed, and quality daycares for sure. 10%.
How do you determine the winner of the pizza? Becky, we throw a name under here and we scroll through and we click at the end of the show, and then we message the person, and they have to pick up the card. So we'll let you know. I'll let you. It might be you. Who knows?
We'll be back to normal. This could be our last gathering here for you and me. What do you think?
I hope the next time we do this show, we can do this together in person.
Yep.
Having a cold, tasty beverage, some food at a restaurant.
That would be great. Maybe people
that would be neat.
Just talk to people that we've been texting with or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that would be a great way to wrap it up. Hockey was cut short, so no fastball this summer. The rules for return to play, 13 pages long, no spectators. It's crazy. Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, I think you're gonna find once the States starts playing and starts getting things going, we'll follow along with it. And I think what people have to do is just go out and get active and do it safely, and I think we're naturally moving there with our routines and the way our habits are, is, washing our hands. Again, talking about the soccer idea. I was thinking the arm sleeves, you bring your towel with your name on it, you bring a drink with your name on it, stuff like that. So that's kind of how we would go about it. Yeah.
Are you feeling more confident going out, Ben? Like, are you feeling any more nervousness when you go out, or do you feel more confidence? Like, you seem like a pretty relaxed guy to start with, but I just wondered how you feel.
I've always been confident. There was only one point that scared me, and that was early on when my daughter had a cough and she wasn't feeling well. And the things that go through your mind, and that was at the early start. That was at the greatest height of the fear coming up, right? So you got this greatest part of fear coming up, and my daughter coughing at the same time. I was scared at that point. I was like, what did I do wrong if this ends up being the virus? What did I do wrong? How did I let this happen? Um, and then, it was a 1 day thing, and I was happy about that and quite a relief. But after that, I've been confident. Like I said, last Thursday, I put on a run. Um, and it was a 5K run. I had 15 people, each starting a minute apart. I want to figure out ways to keep doing things that I like to do, that my son likes to do, that my family likes to do, and do it safely. And maybe that's going overboard of separating each runner by a minute, having make sure that the runners that are the fastest that are started at the front so that they never have to pass anybody. And I believe we can do it with soccer. After soccer, I believe we can do it with many other things. So I think it can be done. And I think I just got to do something for these
Do
kids.
you think if it goes by the way of SARS and just goes away on its own, they'll reopen things, or would they be stubborn with this? Do you think?
I think they're just going to start reopening things
Yeah.
and see how it plays out. And I think it will play out like SARS. Like, I don't know. I hope that it plays out, that it just disappears. And I think more and more, as people focus less on how bad it is, they find out that they can go out and do stuff.
I really hope people with pre-existing get really good stats and data on how to be careful. Like, should they stay home for a little bit longer? So if you have, what level, what type of asthma means you should not go out. You should, you know what I mean? Like the pre-existing
Yeah.
aspect. We don't have enough information to know the people who didn't fit in that, 94% from nursing homes and seniors. What that 6%? What do we need to know about that so people can feel mentally safe that they're okay to go out? That's one thing I think we need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, yes, it's got to be, I think that confidence comes with less people saying how bad it is.
Mm.
I think when you're talking about people doing stuff, for example, the first time taking my mom out to Walmart, after this thing got started, she was under the impression everybody was wrapped in their houses and nobody was doing anything. And then she gets out in the vehicle and sees that there's parking lots with people in them, people going about their normal day, and thought to herself, well, this is normal. We can go out and do stuff and not die.
That's
Right?
That's
That's a totally different thing. People were
right.
scared of dying,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
They go to the store, or something and touch something that they forgot and then touch their head. They could die. That's what people were convinced. That's what, everything I read, that was what it was telling us. And that's why stay home, stay safe, save lives. That's what the Ontario government puts out for ads on
And
every radio station.
that's why it's important to accept that there's some normal anxiety with leaving the house, and there's some normal anxiety being in situations with your kids. And as parents or as adults, when you start to feel that, you respond, but still push it a little bit so that you do go out of your house when it's allowed, and providing you're safe as far as your conditions. I think the masks were underrated. I think they're very helpful for some people who have conditions and need to
Yep.
be safe, but they still should, if okay, to go out. And it's whatever risk you feel you're comfortable with for yourself, your children, and your family. You should honor that. And if you feel you still need to stay home for a while, that's okay. Keep doing what you're doing. But I think for other people, if they want to do more, they should be able to do that.
Hey, Kathy. Hey, Ben, Dr. Svec. How do I pick up my card? If you want to text me or message me your address, or you just message me, I'll show you where you can pick up that pizza and wings, because you won that like 2 weeks ago, Kathy. Come on now.
She now wants to go out. It's great.
Yeah.
Or that's a pickup.
Sean Moore.
Yeah.
$1.99 a month ad coming up. You know what? I bet Sean watched the whole thing again. He was really critical of us yesterday. Joe Lessard, Ben, hearing the border might be shut down until late July. Thoughts? Many people own property on both sides and can't go. My thoughts on that, and I went for a walk out in Rondeau yesterday. I went with a walk with my friend in the morning, Duty Hines, and Art Sterling. I think he's your friend there, Henry.
Sure, yeah, he's
Um,
a great guy.
so we went out and we went for a walk, and we got talking about the American cottages
Mhm.
that they can't come over,
Right,
and
that's
they can't spend money. They can't come over. They can't spend money, right, in those areas. That can hurt. I think they should. I think their first one, Joe, was to open it up on June 21st, and I hope they do that. I really do. Late July, I don't know, but I can I'd rather it open up June 21st, as they hoped it would, and I think they are opening up things
right.
to maybe allow that to happen because you have these border cities that rely on American money coming in, right?
Absolutely.
There's a
Yeah, yeah.
lot of that, and especially now more than ever, you need that influx of cash coming in.
Well,
And I
Erie and Blenheim and
yeah,
surrounding area here, and
yeah,
the marina has boats come across on the lake that park their large
absolutely.
boats in the marina. And
So I believe that I hope they open them up for many people, and I also, like we were talking earlier in this show, you're not going to be as likely to go out and do things if you're not feeling well or if you look visibly unwell. So if I'm coughing and blowing my nose and sniffling, you're not going to find me anywhere because I don't want to be caught
right,
looking like I'm putting other people at risk. So I think the people that are going to be traveling and doing stuff and visiting, kind of like the concern some people have about opening in Chatham, people from Windsor coming to Chatham, and Windsor's a hotspot. So people did have that concern, or do have that concern still, that they'll come to Chatham and go to the bars or go to the restaurants and go get their haircut in Chatham. Uh, you know, but I do believe, again, with the asymptomatic people from the World Health Organization saying that they don't spread it as easily as initially thought, and people staying home more as a habit of not feeling well and not going out, I think it's going to be safe to open a border. I think it's safer anyway.
well, we all have our own level of risk taking or risk
Right.
acceptance and levels of risk, and that's partly behavioral and psychological. So we all have our own levels, and we should just respect that. You feel comfortable with that. There are many people who wouldn't want to go near the border or go across the states, and
Right.
that's okay. They're all fine. So supporting each other with different levels of risk, I think, is important. That we talked about way early in this. That if someone
Yep.
has a different opinion of you on this, it doesn't mean they're better. They just have a different risk
Right.
level, and that's no different
Yep.
than any other thing we do, whether it's a sport or activity. So I think we
Yeah.
that respect and that connection. I am interested. I think today one of the things that really got me thinking was the handshake thing. How will we deal with that? How will we get connected to people if we can't shake their hands?
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, let's see here. All border cities are not advancing to stage two. Yeah. So Sarnia, Windsor, a lot of borders aren't advancing. So maybe that is kind of an indication that maybe those borders aren't going to be opening up. Um, so who knows? And the thing is as we move forward, one thing we've learned is nobody knows. We're all just guessing and hoping for the best. I think is that what you're kind of getting, or no? What do you see?
I
Do you
get the
think
feel
we're
that people are getting more confident, which is exciting for me. That their mental health is improving because they feel they have more control, so they can go do some things. Like before, we weren't allowed to do anything, but now I think people are doing more and taking more risks, and it's time to be reasonable. I saw something
right?
today briefly. Some man in Ottawa was being arrested for. They wanted to serve him for walking with his daughter in a park, and so they jumped him and beat on him and handcuffed him, and because he didn't want to tell him where he lived because the bylaw officer wanted to give him a ticket. There's some really dumb things go on, right? So let's just let people get on with it, keep helping people so that mentally we could continue to move forward with our improved mental health, and especially our children. And what you're doing, Ben, is great with the soccer. Hopefully more parents will do this, start other leagues, start hockey leagues. Hopefully there'll be,
Yeah.
if there's some issues in the fall with hockey, maybe they'll be starting hockey leagues in
Hmm.
basketball and gymnastics and all those things. I think they
Yeah.
need to have the courage to be safe as best they can. And it
Yeah.
would be helpful if we start taking more control because our mental health will improve significantly.
Yeah. Sandy Belanger, do you have a patio? And then Sandy responded will find a patio if you want one, and then they're going to be doing drinks, if I've seen this correctly, on a patio. Interesting. That looks.
Okay, well, maybe
We're going to wrap it up here. If daycare centers will open, all those rules and procedures will be extremely hard on kids and staff. My opinion will create more anxiety and frustration. Young kids need carefree space and environment. That's my thoughts. That. Why don't we wrap it up with that one, Henry? And that is, will all the rules now? I've seen pictures of a daycare where they had marked off spots that each kid had to stand in. It looked
I don't
crazy to
know.
me. Okay, look, I would not send my child to that. That was crazy to me. What would that do to a child's mind if there is a circle that they have to stay in? Do they understand why they can't?
They're not staying in a circle, Ben. Come on. Like, I have so much respect for ECE teachers. When I see little children in my office, say I had sandboxes in all my offices, so they're indoor sandboxes. So when I'm talking to a 4-year-old, we play in the sand and talk, play in the sandbox. And, there's only a couple rules. You can't throw the sand around and don't hit me. Those are the only 2 rules of playing in a sandbox. And that's one-on-one. And most children are absolutely amazing and wonderful, but that's one-on-one. That's not 10-on-1. And I'm not telling a 4-year-old you have to stand in a circle. I think that's to maybe make us think that I don't see how you can do that. And I think it's unfair to the ECE teachers in those programs. How do you keep children apart? If I have a great toy, Ben, and we're both 3 or 4, you're going to come over and want to play with my toy. Who's going to stop you from playing with my truck if I have 2 of them? And I say, here, Ben, you can play with my truck.
Yeah.
You come over and someone grabs you. No, COVID, God, don't touch Henry. I don't know. I think you just got to say, look, children are very low risk. There's a risk because I don't see how you're going to, and I think as parents, part of our mental health is protecting our children. And you need to fully understand the procedures of the daycare. Hopefully they're going to have a day with parents or an hour with parents where you see the procedures, how the kids eat, where do they exercise, where they do naps and all that kind of stuff. Look at the science, and I think parents are going to have to make that decision. I just don't know. Like what I heard him say, daycares have to have toys that children won't, put in their mouths and share or something. I don't know how you do that with 2, 3-year-olds. I don't know.
Awesome conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks from Joe. I like Becky, we have to pay you guys back somehow for all the time. Thanks again. Thank you to our awesome.
Well,
I think
go ahead, Ben. You say something and then I'll say something if it's our last day.
It's just us talking. It's not just us talking. It's the people that are participating in the conversation that drive the conversation, and they're the ones more than us, I think, that make it so great. Because I enjoy this every week. I enjoy seeing people's opinions. I like seeing the way other people share their opinions, what they think should go on. And this is the first forum I've really seen on social media where you have people looking at each other's ideas and saying, I can see how you got there, right? Rather than having a fight over everything. People are saying, I can see that point. I can understand that. And I think that's probably one of the most exciting parts of doing this whole thing with you over this period of time is people that sometimes have different ways of looking at it. And kind of like Erie Boy says, we are all truly in this together. And these people that are participating kind of show that.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Ben, for suggesting and organizing this. And when we started talking about it, I thought, well, if we can help one person feel a little better through all this, it's worth it. So to me, being able to come on with you and share, and I know sometimes we say things and some people, wonder. To me, it's about helping people. And if this did help people get through this, then we're very grateful for that. That's a gift you're giving back to us by feeling better or taking, maybe something was clarified. But thank you for this opportunity, Ben. And I'm very optimistic. And it's really, I'm excited about this because it changed my thinking on a lot of things. And I was thinking my first thing like this was 1990 with Wendy King on CFCO radio, 6:30 at 8:30 once a week. We did call-in show. Just for fun. It was just, and this is obviously 2020. This isn't an AM station and everything, but I think it's helpful for people, I hope, for what we did. And they're going to have an amazing, this is something that you'll be telling your kids and grandkids and this time with COVID. And hopefully we help make it more beneficial to people. So thank you for listening out there, you guys. And thank you.
And hey guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Svec, and everybody watching. And you can also check us out on Monday nights, 8 p.m. for Business Entrepreneur Weekly. And so we'll have conversations there, more business related.
But that could be over soon too, Ben.
I know.
It's going to be, people will be so back to normal. This will be great. It'll be one of those good things, right? When people are all back and they don't need to sit and talk. That's great.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night.
All the best. Thank you, Ben.